Chief, for those very nice words. I was going to welcome everyone to the Ed Show. And in a real sense, that is, though. I did want to first apologize. Some people said this is kind of an odd suit. You see, this is, I didn't know how much food there would be, Ed. So when I go into the KFC and tell them I'm Colonel Sanders' son, they give me a very nice discount. So this little thing, but judicial salaries being what they are, you have to do that. I come here not to praise, but to bear. Oh, sorry. That was a wrong speech. But I did, in writing this, I did note that as I was writing, the spell check came up on damage. And when I looked at it, the first choice was Danish. And for a number of years when we were colleagues at Delaware Law School, Judge Weeks, who was from Mississippi, could never quite get his, damage right. He would always call him, well, Danish there. He said Danish. But, so there's aura that. I've known Ed now for 35 years. Enough time to find where any of the bodies were buried. But there are none. Instead, I find a life of achievements, hard work, responsibilities carried out, and good works done. Procrastinators are the leaders of tomorrow. But Ed is a leader today. He really has a understanding of the responsibilities of the chief, which often require, on the one hand, long-term planning, and on the other, making decisions on a day-to-day basis. And the importance of that is very real, because problems come up which need to be solved on a day-to-day basis. But also that long-term planning process is very critical. I know Chief Judge Hewitt and I know Ed have all experienced that dilemma, when sometimes you've got to deal with things, and there are things you can't put off. And Ed is not a procrastinator. All through his tenure, he's done what was needed, but still maintained that sense of the long term, where he worked for planning what the court was doing. I was reminded of a story of the man who went to the doctor, and the doctor told him, well, you have a serious disease, and as a result of that, you're going to have to take these pills every day for the rest of your life. And the man said, well, doctor, how serious is this illness? And then he looked at the bottle and said, it was 30 pills, no refills. Well, that is in some ways like the chief judgeship of this court. At some point, the prescription runs out. And actually, in this case, Ed, who's our fourth chief judge, was paroled as a result of acts of good behavior during his tenure. But as either a parolee or as the inmate, which I always refer to myself as the chief judge inmate, he really had the same calm demeanor, the same attitude of both friendship and understanding of the duties and responsibilities. I said, I know well how hard he worked, because on many occasions I tried to divert him and talk him into doing something fun. And he'd point out to me, no, he was working on a case that he had to get out, or some matter for the court. His dedication to this job was phenomenal. He had a sense of duty that I've rarely seen. When something needed to be done, whether it was unpleasant or difficult, Ed never shirked from that. And the responsibilities he exercised have left the court better. As the chief judge pointed out a little bit ago, the new chief judge would know if things are bad, were undone, but also it would affect not only the judges of the court and the chief judge, but also the bar. And as a result of that, you know how he's exercised these responsibilities. It doesn't surprise me, though, when I was with him as Professor Danish at Delaware Law School. He won the award for the most popular professor of the first-year class. And what was very encouraging was he was a very tough professor. I think he was probably the strictest and toughest professor. I know when I was teaching, I was a softie, but Ed was really tough and rigorous, and yet he was very popular. And that is a wonderful combination to be able to keep your intellectual integrity, but also communicate with students. Ed has been a friend for a long time, and I've thought of, he's a private person. He's not outgoing and like some other people who may be standing here, and overly, probably excessively so. But Ed is an incredibly warm person. He's very bright, but he's not an icy intellect. His many friends know him and know how he cares and how warm he is and the breadth of the person. I know when I first really got to know him as a friend, I came to Delaware and I needed housing because I was only going to be there one day a week. A professor had died and decided that was a good spot for me to be. And not dead. He wanted me to teach the class. So. At least I think that was it. But, and I didn't have a place to stay. My wife was expecting like any moment now. I think she was, at that point, 3 weeks overdue. And so I didn't want to get a place, so I said, why don't you sleep on my sofa? So I spent the next year before we moved up to Delaware on Ed's sofa. You've got a better sofa. I don't know if I did anything to justify it. Maybe he decided after I'd slept on it. But they got it so I could sleep a little more comfortably. When we were moving down to, or back up to Delaware from Washington, Ed came down, work clothes on, and that I don't mean robes or suits, jeans and T-shirts, and helped my wife and I paint the house to get it ready to sell so we could move up to Delaware. That's the kind of friendship that one hopes for in life, and in Ed, I found that friend. I couldn't ask for a better friend, but it also says something about him, because friendship to one person is really the warmth of his soul, and that is something that's meant a lot to those who are in this room. We see the number of people who are in the room as just a small sampling of Ed's friends. Ed's had a number of causes he's been very committed to. He's a very committed Catholic, and as the church is something he really loves. He's engaged in a number of worthwhile causes. And I can't omit the role he played in creating the American and the Croatian community's national organization. Well, I can't give him credit for the regaining Croatian freedom. Actually, Tito's death had a lot to do with it. Tito died and did something good. Ed played an important role in garnering the support of the American Croatian community for the development and emergence of a free Croatia. His friends and colleagues have looked to him for advice and support, and he's never not provided that good advice and real and meaningful support. His family has always meant so much to him. His mom and dad have passed on in the last several years, but I'm sure at this very moment they're very proud. They're looking down on you from a good spot, and they're taking great pride in the presentation of this painting and the honors you have been given because you have deserved them in leading this court for 7 years. I was going to talk about, I know the Chief Judge spoke very eloquently, not only today, but when at her investiture about Ed, so I was looking at a number of the things I could have said. But this is really about Ed personally, and the good person he is. Great Chief Judge, a colleague to all of us, his friends in the bench, the bar, staff, and all through this town. He is as true a friend as one could ever want, and his lives, who he has touched, have been enriched by him. Ed, thank you for all you have done, and thank you from us for being our friend. We better hurry up with this. The suit's already wrinkling.